Imagine falling in love only to find out you were just someone's way to get more famous. That's what happened to Jennifer Connelly. She was used, lied to, and then thrown away by 7 Hollywood men she grew to hate the most. These weren't just short relationships. They were powerful movie stars who used her fame to help their own careers, and then they left as soon as they didn't need her anymore. And here's the surprising part. You have seen their faces so many times, but you never knew what they did in secret. So let's get started. Russell Crowe, the co-star who turned love into a fight. Number 1 on this list is a man Jennifer Connelly once looked up to and maybe even loved before everything went bad. That was Russell Crowe. He wasn't just her co-star in A Beautiful Mind asterisk. He was the big problem that changed her. What started as a good feeling between them soon became crazy and messy. On the movie set, everyone could see they liked each other. The way he looked at her between scenes, the way she smiled before the camera rolled, it was real. Even the director, Ron Howard, later said they were very close during the filming, but being close doesn't always mean you get along. Russell's strong personality quickly became bossy. He wanted every scene to be all about him, every feeling to be his. Jennifer, who is very serious and prepared about her work, would not let him control her. They argued about everything, how to say a line, when to pause, even about being quiet. During one angry practice, Crowe said she was not trying hard enough. She said back, "I'm not here to make you feel important." That was the moment it all broke. The next day, they almost never talked, only speaking through the director. When A Beautiful Mind won a lot of Oscars, the world saw them smiling together. But people who knew them knew that smile was just for show. She never said his name in her thank you speech. Years later, when someone asked if they were still friends, Jennifer just said quietly, "No, we did the work." To her, it was like a war that was disguised as a love story. And Russell Crowe was the enemy she never expected. Don Johnson, the relationship that made her hate being famous. You won't believe who is next. Number 2 is none other than Don Johnson, the man who almost made Jennifer Connelly stop believing in love. When they met in 1989, he was a huge Hollywood star. She was only 18 years old. Jennifer later said that time was a blur she wishes she could forget. Johnson was charming, dangerous, and almost 20 years older than her. He treated her like a trophy, not like a real person. He would send flowers to her movie set, but then he would show up without warning, asking who she was talking to. When she said she didn't want to go to his late-night parties, he would say she was being rude. She wanted a quiet life. He wanted to control her. People who were close to her at the time said Jennifer stopped smiling between takes while filming the hot spot. One day, Don supposedly yelled at her in front of everyone because she didn't want to practice a romantic scene with him alone. She walked off the set crying and locked herself in her trailer. They had to stop filming for 2 hours until he said he was sorry. That was the day she decided to break up with him. She packed her bags, left the hotel they were sharing, and never went back. Years later, when someone asked what she learned from that relationship, she just said, "Not all attention is love." That one sentence said everything. The experience didn't just end a romance. It destroyed the happy, innocent feeling she once had about Hollywood. Billy Campbell, the man who broke a love that was supposed to last forever. You know, that kind of breakup that changes a person for good. That was Jennifer Connelly and Billy Campbell. They looked like they could never be separated, but behind those happy faces was a love story that was slowly falling apart. Jennifer once said, "You can love someone a lot and still forget who you are in the process." Everyone knew she was talking about him. They met while making the movie Asterisk the Rocketeer in 1990. They were both young actors, good-looking, and in love. For a while, it was like a fairy tale. He would visit her on set with coffee. She would wait for him after his workday. And people started talking about them getting married. But fame doesn't always let people have happy endings. As Jennifer's career became more and more successful, Billy's career started to slow down. That's when he started to feel angry and jealous. He hated the red carpet events, the reporters, all the attention. She loved the work of acting. He wanted a normal life. They started arguing all the time about being apart and their busy schedules. One night in 1995, during a dinner in New York, they fought so loudly that other people eating there recognized them. Jennifer ran out of the restaurant crying and never went back to the apartment they shared. Aft. They broke up, Billy told a magazine. She's amazing, but she belongs to a different world now. To everyone else, it sounded nice. To Jennifer, it was a reminder that he made her feel like she wasn't good enough. She started working on new movie roles, and he started doing more TV work. When they were both invited to the same big movie party years later, she refused to sit anywhere near him. Her silence said everything. Billy Crudup, the betrayal she never expected. At number 4 is Billy Crudup, the man who didn't just hurt Jennifer Connelly's feelings, but turned their relationship into a competition. When they met in 1996, they both really wanted to be successful in Hollywood. She was famous from The Rocketeer and wanted serious acting roles. He was the new favorite independent movie actor, the next big star. It started with them admiring each other. It ended with them being rivals. Jennifer took acting very seriously. She would practice for hours, study her character, and try to show real feelings. Billy made fun of that. During one practice for the movie Inventing the Abbott's Asterisk, he supposedly said, "You don't have to suffer for every single line, Jen." She replied, "At least I care about what I'm doing." Everyone in the room got quiet. From that day on, their relationship changed from being in love to being competitors. He would boast about his good reviews. She would stay quiet, but she would work even harder on her acting. The more successful she became, the more he would argue with her. A person who worked on the movie remembered a tense moment during interviews when Billy cut her off while she was talking, saying she was just being shy. He said, "I helped her find that feeling." She turned, smiled a polite smile, and said, "You didn't help me, you distracted me." After that, everything fell apart. She stopped answering his phone calls, said no to doing events together, and asked her manager to remove her from any interviews they were supposed to do together. When Crudup later left his girlfriend, Mary Louise Parker, Jennifer's friends said she wasn't shocked. She had already seen how he acted. Josh Charles, the quiet romance that ended in a storm. You would think by the 5th guy, Jennifer Connelly would have found a calm relationship. But Josh Charles proved that calm can be just another trick. Their relationship looked perfect from the outside, but in private it was full of stress and quiet anger. She once told a friend as a joke, "Josh doesn't yell, but he doesn't listen either." That sentence said it all. They met in 1999 at a time when Jennifer was trying to build a new life for herself. Josh was charming, kind, and totally different from her past boyfriends. For a while it was good. They lived a quiet life in New York and didn't go to Hollywood parties. But the problem started when both of their careers became very busy. Hers in movies, his in theater. Suddenly, they were fighting about not having enough time together, about who got more attention, and about their big dreams. During a 2001 interview for his show The Good Wife, Josh was asked about Jennifer. He smiled and said, "She's very smart, but she lives inside her own world." That comment upset her. When a reporter told Jennifer what he said later, she supposedly replied, "That's what people say when they don't understand your world." Their arguments started happening in public. At a dinner event in Tribeca, people who were there said the two were seen arguing after Josh said one of her movie roles was too cold and too controlled. She answered sharply, "Maybe I just don't pretend to be nice well enough." He walked out first. She left alone an hour later. By early 2002, it was over. She packed her things, left the loft they shared, and never said his name again. Josh told Vanity Fair magazine later that year, "Some relationships don't end with yelling, they end with people just being too tired." That quiet coldness between them never went away. William McNamara, the first love that turned into bad feelings. What really happened between Jennifer Connelly and William McNamara? That's the question people still ask quietly because their story didn't end with a broken heart. It ended with anger. He wasn't just her first boyfriend. He was the first man to turn love into a rivalry. They met back in 1987, both of them young, both dreaming of being stars. Jennifer had just become famous for Labyrinth while William was still having trouble getting good roles. At first, he loved how ambitious she was, but the more famous she became, the more distant he acted. He once told Movie Line magazine, "Jennifer's career took off like a rocket. I was just left on the ground." It sounded like a compliment, but it wasn't. Behind the scenes, he was very jealous. He would criticize her new movies, question her choices, and say she was just trying to be famous. During one argument, William supposedly told her, "You're changing." Jennifer S. Hot back, that's the whole point. That sentence ended their relationship. Years later, he still couldn't move on. In a 2003 interview, McNamara said, "She was always hard to reach even when she was right next to you." He said it nicely, but the words were mean. He couldn't forgive her for becoming someone he couldn't keep up with. But when they saw each other years later at a party in Los Angeles, she turned around and walked the other way. That silence was her way of closing the door, the kind you only do when you are completely done with the past. Billy Zane, the short relationship that ended in chaos. By the time we get to number 7, the story gets a little darker. Billy Zane, the man Jennifer Connelly once said was too much, too fast. Their short relationship in the late 90s didn't last long, but it was very intense. What started as flirting at a party in Los Angeles quickly turned into control, jealousy, and big fights. They met through people they both knew in the movie business when Jennifer was promoting Dark City, and Zane was famous from Titanic. He was charming, confident, and magnetic, and he was used to always getting what he wanted. But after just a few weeks, that charm became mean. Jennifer supposedly told a friend who was a stylist, "He talks like he's still in a movie even when he's by himself." She wasn't kidding. Zane was always acting, even when he wasn't filming. Their biggest fight happened at a charity party in Beverly Hills. Zane accused her of flirting with a director. Jennifer, who was clearly very angry, told him, "You don't own me, not here, not anywhere." People who saw it said his face turned white, and they kept arguing in the parking lot where she left him standing alone, shouting her name as people took pictures. After that night, she never spoke to him again. When reporters asked her about Zane, she said coldly, "Some people confuse intense feelings for love. It's not the same thing." Years later, Zane was asked about her on a British talk show. He laughed and said, "She was impossible to understand." That was all he said. So now you know the 7 men Jennifer Connelly promised she would never forgive. But which one do you think hurt her the most? Tell us what you think in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more shocking Hollywood stories that no one else dares to tell.